with our great presentation today. Just a few things for the month of May. If you are not a member already at the museum, we are having a discount. It is 20% off your membership. Some of the benefits of becoming a member are not only you can visit here as many times as you like, but you get discounts in the gift shop, as well as third weekend in May, we are doing a member swap with other organizations in the Manitowoc area, so you can get benefits that other members have at other places. So if it is something that you're interested in, please stop at the front desk. Alyssa is there and she'll be able to help you with that. But to start things off, we have Dolly McNulty. She is from Two Rivers, and she is going to talk today about the Ice Age Trail. She has been a member of this organization for over 20 years, correct? Over 30 years, so she knows what she's talking about. She's held multiple positions within the organization, been on their boards of directors, so she knows what she's talking about, and she is going to tell us about something that we have just in our backyard, a great asset. But Dolly, if you don't mind coming on up.
Thank you. It's nice to see some familiar faces in the audience. Can you hear me okay, or is the mic working for you? Okay. Okay. Again, I've been involved with the Ice Age Trail Alliance for over 30 years. I grew up in Two Rivers, and like many young adults, I moved away for 35 years. So when I first got involved with the Ice Age Trail, it was when I was living in southern Wisconsin, and I lived in Delavan, Wisconsin, and got involved with the Walworth Jefferson County chapter of the Ice Age Trail. And I'll tell you a little bit more about chapters as we go along. Moved back to Two Rivers, again, like many people do later in life. They move back to their hometown to help with an aging parent, and that's what I did. So I've been back in Two Rivers for about, technically for about 20 years, but not quite that long because I was off having fun doing other things for a while as well. But I've been back in Two Rivers for over 15 years, full-time, and still enjoy the Ice Age Trail very much. And I hope to tell you a little bit more about it so that all of you will learn to love it as much as I do. The Ice Age National Scenic Trail is one of 11 National Scenic Trails. So this is the list of the trails, and this is where they all are. Most people are familiar with the Appalachian Trail, the Pacific Crest Trail, and the Continental Divide Trail, but there's several other trails. Three of the National Scenic Trails are entirely within one state. That's the Florida Trail, and the Arizona Trail, and the Ice Age Trail. The Ice Age Trail is unique in that it is really highlighting geological features that you can find along the trail. Not that the Appalachian, Pacific Crest, and Continental Divide Trail don't highlight the mountains that you're going through, but you know, the glacial features that you find here in Wisconsin are unique to, the glacial features that you find here in Wisconsin are known worldwide. Geologists from all over the world come to Wisconsin to study some of the glacial features that you'll find here. And we'll talk about that more as we go along as well. Why is it called the Ice Age Trail? It's called the Ice Age Trail, because when the glaciers were in Wisconsin, they came down this far. You can see that there's 6 lobes of the glacier. And if you look at the trail, it sort of follows what is called the terminal end or end moraine of where the glacier was the furthest advanced at the most recent glaciation. There was, as you can see in this little area here, there was a previous glaciation even longer ago than the Wisconsin glaciation, The Wisconsin glaciation retreated between 12 and 14,000 years ago. The previous glaciation was actually called the Illinois glaciation because it went down into Illinois and further down into Minnesota and stuff too. But there is this little area down in here that is called the driftless area that is believed glaciers never covered. It's called driftless because when the glacier moves, it picks up sand and gravel and boulders and so on and brings it along and ends up dropping it. And that's what the kettle moraine is made of. The terminal moraine is all the sand and gravel that the glacier left behind. Well, all that sand and gravel and boulders is called drift. It's called glacial drift. So this area that's called the driftless area is where the glaciers never were, so you won't find any of these moraines or sand and gravel or many of the other glacial features that you can find along the Ice Age Trail. So, any questions about that? One of the things that I believe in is audience participation. So I will sometimes ask a question, and if you have a fantastic answer, you will earn a bandana. Or if you ask a fantastic question, you can earn a bandana. And I will call that a fanbana answer or a fanbana question. So feel free to raise your hand, participate as you see fit. The Ice Age Trail Alliance is a nonprofit, volunteer-based organization whose mission is to create and support and protect a 1,000-mile footpath tracing Ice Age formations across Wisconsin. And you'll see in parentheses, I have the 1100 and 1200. And that's because the Ice Age Trail is not complete. There's a lot of road sections, road connector sections. Right now, there are about 700 miles of the Ice Age Trail that are blazed and off-road sections of the trail. When it's complete, it's estimated that it'll be somewhere between 1,100 and 1,200 miles. So the Ice Age Trail Alliance is the organization that I'm associated with. And again, going back to their mission, it's to create, support, and protect the footpath across Wisconsin. It's more than just a trail. The Ice Age Trail Alliance is also an accredited land trust. It's one of only 17 accredited land trusts in Wisconsin. The Alliance owns 39 preserves totaling 2,900 acres, and they manage another 104 easements totaling 1,500 acres. So it's over 4,400 acres that they manage. When I say manage, they do habitat restoration, habitat improvement, get rid of invasive species, plant native plants and things like that. So not only is do they support the Ice Age Trail, but they manage all this other property as well. Accreditation requires pretty high national standards. The review process includes governance, finance, transactions, which includes acquisitions, sales, and it can occasionally be just a land swap kind of thing as well. And stewardship, which is controlling the invasive species and habitat management. The Ice Age Trail Alliance partners primarily with the National Park Service because it's considered a national scenic trail, and with Wisconsin DNR because it's also not one of the things that most people think of, but it's also a Wisconsin scenic trail. So it's got scenic trail both nationally and internationally. That's a fanbana question. So I have 3 types of bandanas here. I only have one of these, so come on up. I have several of those and several of those, so pick your bandana. And the answer to that question is they're really throughout the state. There is, if you know where Wallahai County Park is, in southern Manitowoc County, just north of Wallahai County Park, there's a property called the Brownrigg Hire property, and it's called Brownrigg Hire because it's the Brownrigg and the Hire families that actually donated the property to the Ice Age Trail Alliance. So the trail does not go through that property yet, but we're expecting that it will be in the next 1 or 2 years. The reason it doesn't connect from Wallahai to the Brownrigg Hire property is because there was landowners in between those two properties that had to either sell their property or give approval for the trail to go across their property. So that Brownrigg Hire property is a preserve of the Ice Age Trail Alliance, and it will have Ice Age Trail on it eventually, but it's not quite there yet. There's, I don't know all of the properties, but I know that there's a lot of them. In northern Manitowoc County, near Tisch Mills is another, it's called Weber's Woods property. If any of you are familiar with that, this little secret, top secret places hike, it's included in here as one of the places in Manitowoc County. And it crosses a stream that connects into the East Twin River. So, that's another property that the Ice Age Trail owns and manages. Okay. Okay. Other partners besides the National Park Service and the Wisconsin DNR is county governments, city governments, nonprofit organizations, businesses, and private property owners. We do cooperate extensively with both Manitowoc and Two Rivers. Manitowoc County, of course. Wallahai County Park is one of the parks that the trail goes through, and so we're obviously cooperating with the counties as well. There may be other properties as well, other partners. An example of a nonprofit organization that we partner with is Woodland Dunes Nature Center. Again, there's 2.25 miles of the Ice Age Trail that goes through Woodland Dunes Nature Center. So that's one of the reasons why the trail is not complete yet. We have to have so many partnerships and so many different organizations to work with. We can't just put trail across property without the land manager's permission. So we work hard. When I first got involved with the Ice Age Trail, there were probably about 400 miles on the trail. So there's 300 more. Yes.
Is the school forest on the north end of Two Rivers area, is that part of the Ice Age Trail?
That's another bandana question. You can come up and get a bandana, and the answer is yes, it is. The school forest, Manitowoc School Forest.
There's a lot of acres.
The RAR School Forest, yes. That is north of Two Rivers, and that is also a property that the Ice Age Trail goes through. I believe in that property there's maybe a mile and a quarter of Ice Age Trail that goes through there. If you've never been on that section, there is a huge boardwalk. I mean, you get on this boardwalk and you think you're going to go forever on this boardwalk. It was built probably about 10 years ago, maybe a little bit longer than that. Very, very well used by school groups, obviously, because it's school forest, but it is also part of the Ice Age Trail.
Is it east of Highway O? Is it like in Point Beach?
It's just past that area.
If you look at the map, the Ice Age Trail goes through Point Beach. From here up to here is school forest, and this is County B.
Yes.
So it's both north and south of County B. If you're hiking in the Point Beach segment, you get to a section where it says you're leaving Point Beach State Forest, and then you're entering the school forest. So, does anybody think that that was a bandana question?
What if I pose my question to you in the pop song Cruel Summer? Then it would be a Bananarama bandana.
That's a little too confusing for me. So, this is the only one that we have of this style. We have a couple of that and a couple of those.
And the thing, I'll take the Ice Age National. Thank you so much. That's kind of you.
Okay, I might run out of bandanas before this presentation is over. I love it. Okay, the trail is marked with blazes. The main trail is marked with yellow blazes, and they're about this high and about this wide. And blue blazes are blazes that are on spur trails. And the spur trail can be from a parking lot to the Ice Age Trail, or it can be to a special glacial feature. It's just a trail that's not on the Ice Age Trail itself, but somehow connected to the Ice Age Trail. And then the third type of blaze is a white blaze. And a white blaze is a loop trail. So in this example, the Ice Age Trail is the yellow trail here. And in this example, the loop trail goes off of the Ice Age Trail and then reconnects to the Ice Age Trail at some later place. And this is not a real trail here. This is just an example. But a loop trail could be something that just goes, whoops, back up. The loop trail can be something that, is literally just a loop that comes back almost to the same place. So if you're hiking the Ice Age Trail, you're mainly looking for the yellow blazes, but you may also see blue blazes and white blazes. It's estimated that over 4,650,000 individuals use the trail each year. And this was established by UW Whitewater, doing a survey and gathering information. And the trail is used for many, many things. Obviously, the main thing that it's used for is hiking and snowshoeing. Also used for birding, photography, forest bathing, which I was forest bathing since I was in second grade. I didn't know what it was until the Japanese came up with this term and said, if you sit in the woods or sit out someplace in nature and you sit quietly and listen to birds and nature sounds and you smell the forest and you see all kinds of things, that's forest bathing. Like I said, I've been doing it since second grade and I didn't know what it was called. And then geocaching and cold caching, and we'll get into cold caching in just a little while. There's many other uses too. I've seen people in yoga classes along the trail and, all kinds of different things. If your imagination lets you go wild, you can come up with something, I'm sure. Again, with the UW Whitewater survey, it's estimated that $355 million annually is spent in association with people who are using the Ice Age Trail. They go to bars and restaurants, they have lodging in hotels, motels, and camping, they do local shopping, they go to entertainment centers, and so on. So again, the economic impact for the state of Wisconsin is really quite huge. And it doesn't cost anything to use the trail itself, other than the equipment that you buy to use it. You might have some walking boots and a day pack and things like that. The Ice Age Trail Alliance in 2024 had almost 2,000 volunteers that included 103,500 hours that these volunteers were spending on the trail. That includes things like I'm doing right now, doing a presentation. It can be trail building. It can be reaching out to to schools and other public events. But some of the projects include trail crews, and they're large trail construction projects that use erosion control techniques and rock work to for long-term sustainability, for retaining walls and steps and things like that. Habitat management, which is large stewardship projects. Again, these are on the preserves that the Ice Age Trail Alliance owns or has easements on, and they do invasive species control, planting native plants, and so on. And habitats include prairies, wetlands, woods, sedge meadows, and so on. And I'm going to escape out of here briefly and get to nope, not there. Trail resources. Be patient, I'll get there. Can be, yes. Yeah. Was that a pandemic question? Sure. Yeah.
Can you add geocaches to the toys and the little notebook and stuff?
Earth cache, or what we call a cold cache, you do have to have landowner or land manager permission. Yeah. So that's true. That's true with geocaches and what we call cold caches. And I need to go somewhere else. What I'm trying to find is a map that shows. I want to find it because I want to talk about it a little bit.
Are dogs allowed on all the trails? Or ones that run?
Well, so if the landman allows dogs on the Ice Age Trail, but not on any of their other trails. Point Beach, School Forest, dogs are allowed. But on a leash, that was a pandemic.
So it is marked. The question was, is it marked on the trail? Yeah.
Yes.
Or you could Google it first, which, let's say you want to go to the school forest portion, you would Google it and it would tell you if you could take a dog.
Sorry. And
Yeah.
come on up and get a bandana. You helped participate. You earned a bandana. Yeah. Until I run out. Now I can. Thank you. Okay, so this year trail projects are at all these locations. So the trail improvement projects are at these locations: Preserve, Anderson Preserve, Heartland Marsh, Riverland Conservancy, Swamp Lovers, Dane County, Steenbach. These are all Ice Age Trail Alliance owned properties that they will be doing habitat improvement on. Get rid of invasive species, plant native plants, and so on. There's a lot of prairie work that they actually collect seeds and process them and then replant them the next season. Then the trail improvement projects, or the trail building projects, I should say, are at locations: Straight River, Blue Hills, Muller Lake. This has Point Beach and Tisch Mills. And right now, the Tisch Mills segment is very likely to go. The Point Beach segment is a segment that may or may not go, because before any new trail can be built, they have to go through a whole bunch of compliance issues, check and see if there's any endangered or threatened species of plants and animals. And there's still some compliance work that needs to be done for the Point Beach segment. And the Point Beach segment is going to be separating the Ice Age Trail from the cross-country ski trails and the Raleigh Point bike trail that goes out there. So the plan is to separate the Ice Age Trail from those two other trail uses that will make the trail usage for all three types of users much more pleasant. That project, if it goes through, is scheduled to go through to happen like the third week of October or something. So there's still time, plenty of time for them to get all the compliance issues taken care of and for the project to go ahead. If it does, you will be hearing about it. There will be information probably posted in several places around Manitowoc and Two Rivers, as well as on the Ice Age Trail website, explaining what the project is, when it is, how to register, and so on. And if it does go through, base camp for that, and it will be like from a Wednesday through a Sunday. Base camp for that will be at the indoor group cabins at Point Beach. So they're cabins where they're not technically heated, except that there's a wood burning fireplace in there. So if you don't want to camp towards the end of October, there is a cabin that you can go to. Otherwise, if you live in the Manitowoc Two Rivers, it might be you just stay at your own home and travel back and forth on a daily basis. So again, there's a lot of projects around the state for both habitat improvement and building new trail. Okay, moving on then. Other state aid, and it's classes on trail construction, chainsaw safety, signage, first aid, event planning, plus many, many other things. So if you're a lifelong learner, which I'm assuming you are because you're all here tonight, there's opportunities for lifelong learning through the Ice Age Trail Alliance as well. They have an annual meeting every year. It happened to be a week and a half ago in Stevens Point, where they elect a board of directors. They have hikes and presentations and workshops at the annual meeting as well. There's youth programs. In 2024, approximately 10,000 youth were brought out to the trail for some sort of hike or event. The Saunters program is a multi-day camp, and it's a day camp, so the students go home every day, but it would be something that they may get together at 8:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning and be out on the trail learning some things until 4 o'clock in the afternoon or something for 4 or 5 days in a row. So that's the Saunters program, and that can be for grade school students. Basically, it's usually 3rd through 7th or 8th grade. The Think Outside program is for fourth graders. They get a classroom presentation, and then they go out on the trail and learn things about the trail itself. And I've led several Think Outside hikes, both at Point Beach and at Potawatomi State Park. And it's fourth graders because in the state of Wisconsin, Wisconsin history and Wisconsin geology are part of the curriculum. So it's intended to help support some of the things that they're learning in their classroom. That program is funded through a National Park Foundation, not the National Park Service, the National Park Foundation, which is volunteers through the National Park Service. And the grant, the funding that they provide is to basically pay for the buses and the bus drivers to take students from wherever they're coming from to get to the trail. So that's the youth programs. Trail Tessa is programs intended to get women and girls out on the trail to experience adventure, freedom, and a new way to be. It includes backpacking, wine and cheese, and nature princess. If you look closely at this picture, this little girl there's a puddle there up to her princess dress. And it was like, just, to me, it really says a lot about what the Ice Age Trail and getting young girls out in nature will do. The Nature Princess program was done in collaboration with Woodland Dunes Nature Center. And it's based on, there's a book called Do Princesses Wear Hiking Boots? And the answer is, yes, princesses do wear hiking boots. They climb trees and they do all kinds of other things as well. And the book is, it's a short children's book. And the book is read to the girls, and then we get them out on the trail to experience things. And they lift up logs and look for salamanders and climb trees and do all kinds of things. This program, the Nature Princess program, did require each girl to have an adult with them. So it wasn't, they were, the adult was also helping to make sure that if they're climbing a tree, they were safe and so on. So, okay. Ice Age Trail Communities is a place that values the trail, understands its impact and the quality of life for its residents and visitors, and supports the work of the Ice Age Trail. So again, if we look at Ice Age Trail Communities, where is that? Here. There we go. These yellow markers are all Ice Age Trail communities. You'll see one right here. Manitowoc and Two Rivers are a combined Ice Age Trail community. And that simply means that they support the Ice Age Trail. We work in cooperation with them. If you enter either Manitowoc Ice Age Trail community, it's kind of like Bird City or Tree City, you'll see an Ice Age Trail community sign as well. In addition to Ice Age Trail communities, we have what's called Ice Age Trail Campus. And UW-Whitewater is an Ice Age Trail campus, which is one of the reasons why they do the survey for us. The city of Lodi, it's their K through 12 school programs is considered an Ice Age Trail campus. And I believe that there's one other and maybe one or two others that are in the process of becoming Ice Age Trail campuses. But it's just another way for various organizations to partner with the Ice Age Trail Alliance and support our goals. Other statewide events include the Cold Cache program, which is looking for geological features along the Ice Age Trail. It is a variation of geocaching, so I know you had a question about that. And the Mammoth Hike Challenge. It's an incentive program to get people out on the trail during the month of October. For October 2024, there were over 9,200 registered participants. So that's getting a lot of people out on the trail. In addition, there's 19 chapters that have hikes, work days, meetings, and special events. Let me see if I can find that information. So each chapter, well, I shouldn't say each chapter, many of the chapters have what they call hiking award programs, where if you hike certain sections of the trail, you can earn a patch. So locally, we have the Lakeshore of the Ice Age Trail in Door, Kewaunee, Manitowoc, Sheboygan, and Fond du Lac counties, because that's how big the Lakeshore chapter is. It's the largest chapter. And so that you're not necessarily hiking all connected trails. Like the Point Beach segment is part of that. The Wallahigh segment is part of that. The East Twin River segment is part of that. Basically, all the things that are in the top secret hikes there for Manitowoc County are part of that, plus some additional ones. Yeah. Shore Wanderer, there's 29, a little over 29 miles. Then we also have the Hall of Kamers, which is the Northern Kettle Moraine. We have the Anape Tracker, which is the rail to trail segments of the Ice Age Trail in the Lakeshore chapter, and that's 28 plus miles. So those, between those three patches and those 3 miles, those will be the off-road segments within the Lakeshore chapter. But then there's several road connections. And I know you already got a bandana, so you're not getting a second one. Okay?
So this goes to trails, the Ice Age Trail.
Yep. The Sugar River Trail near in Greene County, near Dane County, is part of it. There's a segment that Toskiba section of the trail is a rail to trail in northern Wisconsin. Obviously, we would like to have the rail trails, even though they provide off-road segments. They're not necessarily showing off some of the glacial features that we'd really like to highlight. So, but that earned a bandana. That's a bandana question too. So,
I have a question about the rail to trail. This is a non-bandana question, please. Is the Devil Rivers Trail part of the Ice Age Trail too?
no,
No, okay, it's just a.
it's a rail trail, but it's not part of the Ice Age Trail. So,
Are you going to tell us which parts in Manitowoc are? What in Manitowoc is part of it?
part of the Ice Age Trail.
Yes.
Actually, the trail goes right past the Maritime Museum here. So you walk, when you come out of the Weber's Woods, not the Weber's Woods, the Woodland Dunes segment of the Ice Age Trail behind Aurora Clinic, then you cross over by the lights and you're walking along the trail, what's the trail? Mariners Trail. Thank you. You walk along the Mariners Trail, past the yacht club, past the YMCA. You come around, cross right in front of the Maritime Museum, and then you turn and you go up up the street till you get to Union Square Park. It's a 1 block square park, and then it goes along some city streets, and it enters Shooty Park.
So like, you go down Michigan Avenue,
Yes.
you go down Michigan Avenue west, turn left, go by the Holy Family Hospital, turn into Shooting Park. The segment ends at the telephone pole across from the devil. No,
Okay.
that's where it's ends.
So,
Yep.
so if you want to look closer at it, this is the map for the woodland dunes along the Mariners Trail, and then through the city of Manitowoc, through Shooty Park, and then end up Roadwalk.
So down Reed Avenue and across the river now, that bridge they're putting in, is that part of the Ice Age Trail?
No,
That's not there.
no. The Ice Age, you walk right by the yacht club.
Yep.
Come down the lake, walk by the Y.
Mhm.
No, truly, and it ends across from the devil.
So John knows this because he is attempting to hike the entire Ice Age Trail. When I first started intentionally trying to hike the entire trail with my sister about 15 years ago, there were less than 100 people that had completed the entire trail. Right now, there are over 600 that have completed the entire trail. My sister and I had dreams of being number 99 and 100. That didn't happen. And she now has knee problems, so we haven't been hiking for a couple of years. But as you can see, I'm relatively short. I'm in my later years in life. And a lot of the people that are involved with the Ice Age Trail and are trying to do the entire trail want to hike 3.5 to 4 miles an hour, where I want to hike less than 2 miles an hour. A lot of those people want to hike 25 and 30 miles a day, and I want to hike 6 to 8 miles a day. So when my sister said, let's hike the Ice Age Trail, I said, I can hike with her because she's older than I am, in less shape than I am. And, I said, I can hike with her. But right now she's having some knee problems, so we haven't hiked for a while. But we are at 550 miles that we consider halfway. So making progress. There are some trail is to do it with the fastest known time, or as fast as they can. There's a woman, she had support, people that met her at trail road crossings and things like that to feed her and give her fresh water and all that kind of stuff. But she did the entire trail, including the off-trail segments, the road segments, in 21.5 days. That is basically the equivalent of running 2 marathons a day for 20, and not on city streets, over trail that has roots and rocks and all kinds of things like that. My mind is just boggled by that. I can't imagine even wanting to attempt that. First of all, I'm not a runner, but my trail name is based on, somebody told me that you should pick a lot of people pick a name that rhymes, a trail name that rhymes with their name. So my name being Dolly, I kind of went through the alphabet and came across Lolly, and I went, yeah, lollygag. I like to lollygag along the trail. I stop and take photos. I stop and look at interesting things. I stop and rest just because I'm out of breath. So I am certainly not going to do 2 marathons a day for 21.5 days in a row. You have to remind me of these things if I forget. Okay, getting into the geocaching and cold caching. A geocache basically started, I think it was in 2000 or 2001, when GPS systems that had been used by the military for many years, finally they the signals from the satellites were no longer scrambled. So some guy out in Seattle, Washington, I believe it was, said, "Hey, I'll put a container out in the woods with some trinkets in it and a logbook and get my friends to try and go and find this container." And it is a worldwide phenomenon right now with people looking for containers with logbooks and trinkets in it. Well, there's a variation of geocaching called earth caching, and instead of looking for a container with trinkets and logbooks, you're looking for a geological feature or a geological treasure. My mind went, holy cow, we have been trying for years to figure out how to get more people to learn about glacial features. What if we had a program called Cold Cache, because it's along the Ice Age Trail, which is an earth cache looking at many glacial features. You know, so you've heard me talk about the kettle moraine. So kettles and moraines, there's drumlins and caves and eskers and all kinds of other things. If you're really interested, I have a 2-page list of glacial, not all glacial features, but geological features that you can find along the Ice Age Trail. So the Cold Cache program now has, I think, 92 or 93 cold cache sites, which is looking for geological features along the Ice Age Trail. And if we go here, okay, so this map, all these little diamonds are cold cache sites are and is forest. Because you can see some of them along the entrance road to the park. And this basically gives a description educational information about it. This is kind of explaining what the ridges there's 3 places in the state of Wisconsin that have these ridges and swales: Point Beach State Forest, Woodland Dunes Nature Center and Preserve, and Ridges Sanctuary up in Door County. It's a fairly rare feature and unique to those 3 areas. And they were created when at one time Lakes Michigan, Superior, and Huron were all one great big lake because of all the water melting from the glaciers. And as the water level slowly receded, because if you were standing at the site of this cold cache site in Point Beach, actually you would have been under about 30 feet of water. As the water level receded, it created new set of sand dunes. And then it would be stable for a while, recede a little bit more, and created another set of sand dunes. Well, those sand dunes eventually wore down and became the ridges, and the swales in between are the area that was between those two stable periods of when the lake level, Lake Nipissing, gradually receded into what is now Lake Michigan. Okay. So the cold cache program works in cooperation with Groundspeak, and they're the ones that started the geocaching phenomenon. They promote geocaching worldwide, and they review and approve all geocache sites. Then the Wisconsin Geocaching Association promotes geocaching within Wisconsin, organize events, educate the public, and facilitate communications. And then there's the Geological Society of America. So geocaching.com approves the sites where you have a container with trinkets and logbooks. An earth cache and a cold cache is simply a subset of earth cache, also requires the Geological Society of America to approve that. They establish and promote the earth cache program, and they partner with the Ice Age Trail Alliance to support the cold cache program. Okay. This is all based on GPS systems. Anywhere on Earth, you have to have at least 3 satellites that will be sending signals to some sort of device. And it can be a GPS handheld unit. Most of you have smartphones. Those will work as a GPS thing now. Also receive those signals and be used to do it. It was originally created by the military on scrambled signals for general use in 2000. So this is just using latitude and longitude to pinpoint a location. To find a cold cache site, there's the link to the bookmark list that I showed you just a little while ago. My suggestion is that if you really a link on your desktop so that you can easily get to it. You can also use the Atlas and Google Maps. And then there's a far out app that you can get for, again, your tablet or your phone. I have my tablet here that has the far out app on it, showing you places where you can park, places where you can get drinking water, places where you can camp, and so on like that. It also has the cold cache sites on there, and you can press on the icon for the cold cache site, and it will pull up the description and tell you, basically where it is. So now this is a different cold cache site, but it's also in Point Beach. If you look on Google Maps, the coordinates for the sand dunes at Point Beach, the green arrow shows you where this is located. Well, if you look at the map that is in the atlas there, you can kind of see where it's going to be based on where it shows on Google Maps. And you're not looking for a container hidden behind a stump in the woods. You're looking for a geological feature. So when you get to the sand dunes at Point Beach, you will probably recognize it as sand dunes. So, you don't necessarily even have to have a GPS unit in order to find many of the cold cache sites, because you can plug in the GPS coordinates on Google Maps and it will show you where it is, and you compare it to the Ice Age Trail map and you'll be able to find it. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. There's also 8 parks that have what we call park packs. And there's a park pack at Potawatomi, Point Beach, Northern Kettle Moraine, Lapham Peak, Southern Kettle Moraine, Devil's Lake, Chippewa Moraine, and Interstate State Park. The one at Point Beach has the equipment and the write-ups for all the cold cache sites that are in Point Beach, and there's 3 of them. There's the sand dunes, the ridges and swales, and then there's Lake Michigan. Oh my gosh. So there's three cold cache sites in Point Beach, and all the information for that can be, you go to Point Beach office and you say, I'd like the park pack for the cold cache sites, and I think they require you to leave something there so that you don't take like they might ask you to leave a credit card just to make sure that you come back and return the pack and so on. But there's no cost to check it out. There's 82 cold cache sites. I think there might be 83 or 84 right now, because there have been a couple that have recently been. And examples would be the escarpment that you can see up at Potawatomi State Park. It is a cold cache site, but technically the Niagara Escarpment is not a glacial feature. The Niagara Escarpment created millions of years before the glaciers were here. There was a inland sea that covered most of lower Michigan and part of Wisconsin and so on, and it built up the Niagara Escarpment from all these seashells from animals that lived in this inland sea. What's important about the Niagara Escarpment is that it was a high point in the land. And if you go way back to the beginning where I showed you where those lobes were and stuff, there was a Green Bay lobe and a Lake Michigan lobe. And the Niagara Escarpment was a high point in the land that actually split that into those two lobes because the glacier came along. It was a high point, had an effect on the glaciers here in Wisconsin. A ford is a shallow place in a river or stream where one can cross by wading. This one happens to be up on what we call the Weber's Woods segment of the Ice Age Trail. An erratic, they can be found all over the state, and it's basically a large boulder that was carried by the glacier and then left behind. An esker is a ridge of sand and gravel, and it was basically at one time a stream under the glacier, and it had carried a lot of sand and gravel, and then when the glacier eventually melted away, all the sand and gravel was left behind in the same shape that the river or stream was. So that's what an esker is. And a pothole, this is found at Interstate State Park. And this, again, when the glacier was melting, there was an ice dam that prevented the water coming down from Lake Superior. And when that ice dam broke, it was just a rush of water that came down really fast. And it would pick up stones and create whirlpools. And these stones actually drilled holes into the bedrock. This particular pothole is about 6 feet deep and about 4 feet wide. And it's just a stone that was ground by water that was rushed down as the glacier melted. You know, a bunch of water was released all at once, and it created this. If you look at the, I think it's still the St. Croix River that eventually connects with you can still see eddies in the water. It's creating small potholes, nothing like this one, but it's still action that is taking place today. There's some potholes at Devil's Lake State Park, created basically in the same way. So again, glacial features because it was rush of glacial meltwater. The snowflake level requires you to find 3 cold cache sites of at least 2 different features, and a feature can be like the escarpment, the ford, an esker, a drumlin, a came, those are all 7 sites, 5 freshly consolidated snow that has passed through one summer melt season but has not yet turned to glacial ice. An ice sheet. What a surprise, a glacier. And that requires you finding 25 cold cache sites with at least 20 different features. With the number of cold cache sites that currently exist, you could earn this patch at least 3 times over. The goal is to eventually get to at least 100 cold cache sites, and we're almost there, but not quite. The complete set of patches looks like this, so it creates a nice panel. And this artwork was actually done by a Two Rivers individual. Then we have the Mammoth Hike Challenge, and this is every October since the year 2000. You hike a designated number of miles. In 2024, it was 44 miles because it was 44 years since the Ice Age Trail became a National Scenic Trail. Next year, this 2025, it'll be 45 miles that you have to hike in October. If you think that that's too much, there's other ways. You can get bonus miles, 10 bonus miles for becoming an Alliance member, 10 bonus miles for volunteering. So if the Point Beach event comes up and you work, a half a day at the Point Beach event, 10 bonus miles, because it happens to be in the month of October. Attending a Mammoth Hike Challenge event, and there will be a full moon hike at Point Beach that will occur this October. Last year it was October 19th. This year I think it's October 2nd or 3rd. Hike a segment with a glacial feature. Well, just go to any cold cache site. That's a glacial feature basically. Take advantage of trail magic. So one of the things that the Ice Age Trail communities do is they go out to the community businesses in the communities and ask them if they want to participate in trail magic. So there's the Brew Club in Two Rivers, right next to the community center there, had trail magic where if you were hiking the Mammoth Hike Challenge, you'd go in there and you get a discount on something. There's several places. There's probably between Manitowoc and Two Rivers, 25 businesses that participated in trail magic. So you just go into one of those and wow, you get bonus points. Not only do you get a deal from this business, but you get bonus points. Okay, so additional resources are the atlas that I showed you a couple of times. There's a guidebook that goes along with this. This book is Geology of the Ice Age National Scenic Trail. A lot of good information about the geological features that you find along there. Roadside Geology of Wisconsin is another resource that was used to create some of the cold cache sites. Wisconsin, you can contact me. And Amy Lord is a staff member at the Ice Age Trail Alliance. She is the staff member that has staff working for her, that they're the ones that organize the trail tests, the youth groups, the work with the trail communities, basically anything that's outreach and education related is Amy Lord at Ice Age Trail. And her email address is amy@iceagetrail.org. For me, I have a couple of little business cards here that has my address, phone number, and email on it. So I welcome contact and additional questions. Other things that I have up here, if you haven't already picked them up, is this little pamphlet that talks about some of the off-trail segments in Manitowoc County. This is the National Park Service thing that shows the entire Ice Age Trail, and on the back side it gives a lot of information, so that's information up here. And then this, Hike, Bike, and Paddle, Two Rivers, Wisconsin. So it has a map of not only the Ice Age Trail, but the water trails, woodland dunes, Point Beach. So it's got some good outdoor recreational information here for the city of Two Rivers. I don't think the city of Manitowoc has something similar to this, but they might be in the process of creating it. So these are all things that are free for you to take. Um, those of you that want more information about the Far Out app, if you want to download that to your phone or tablet, I believe it's $10 per segment, and there's three: the eastern segment, the central segment, and the north segment. So it would be like $25 or $30 to download the app, and that app has tons of information on it. Okay? Any questions? Yeah. Let's start with you.
If you volunteer for the trail blazing, do you bring your own tools or those?
That you need for working on the trail is provided either by the Alliance, if it's a large trail crew project, or the local chapter. Come and get a bandana.
Have any ice age animal fossils been found in Wisconsin?
I think so. I think that there was a mammoth skeleton that was found down near Kenosha or something, so that's not along the Ice Age Trail. But yeah, if you look at the of yeah, it's because it is a animal that was around here, and we know that it was right. Skeleton was found somewhere near Kenosha, I think, and it's at a museum down there. We know that there were other Ice Age animals that were around here at that time. There's also many fossils, like the shelled creatures in water and that kind of stuff that are found in various places. So, yeah. Yes.
Is there any section that you would highly recommend? Like, don't miss this section of the trail kind of thing?
Most people would say Devil's Lake. Personally, my favorite segment is right in my backyard. It's Point Beach and Woodland Dunes. Point Beach, because when my family first moved to Two Rivers, I have a hint of how old I am, but back in 1958, my family moved to Two Rivers. I was in second grade, and because my father was a Wisconsin State Patrolman, we were allowed to rent state-owned property. So we actually lived right across from the ranger station in Point Beach State Forest. So 3 years of my growing up years, second, third, and fourth grade, was living in Point Beach. Can't imagine having a better backyard than that. Woodland Dunes is one of my favorite segments now, also because I also, in addition to volunteering for the Ice Age Trail, I volunteer at Woodland Dunes. So right in my backyard. You don't have to go far to find a favorite place. Like I said, most people would say Devil's Lake State Park, but that's also one of the toughest segments. It's, you're climbing up cliffs. Right now, there's a couple of trail projects that will be happening this year up in the Blue Hills areas, northern Wisconsin, and they're calling it the Dreamer Route. That is supposed to be a fantastic segment of trail that will be probably not open for another 3 years or so, because it's like 20 miles of trail that they're building, getting it off of logging roads and taking it to some glacial features and skiing at some point, but not there yet, not complete yet. So Interstate State Park is obviously another favorite for many people because it's the western terminus of the Ice Age Trail. Potawatomi State Park is the eastern terminus of the Ice Age Trail. And those of you that know anything about Potawatomi State Park know that the tower there had been closed for a long time. It opened not last weekend, but the weekend before. So the tower at Potawatomi is open now. You can climb.
Where was that one pothole?
That's at Interstate State Park. It's on the Wisconsin, Minnesota border by St. Croix Falls.
Okay.
Yeah.
Isn't there a bench in Woodland going in memory of your mother?
Yeah, there is. And that bench was built from wood that was retrieved from a straight line windstorm from the East Twin River segment of the Ice Age Trail. The East Twin River segment is a little bit north of Mishicot, and that trail was built about 10 years ago now. And before the trail could be built there, like 2 years before the trail was going to be built there, a straight line windstorm came through there, and there were cedar trees just, like pickup sticks. Cedar trees were like that in that section of woods. So, yeah, come up and get a bandana. And I don't know who else I missed, but if you asked a question and I missed saying, come get a bandana. I don't want to take any of these home, so come on up.
How do they go acquiring new land? So from getting it off an interconnecting road, get it on a segment do they monitor land that comes up for sale?
There are multiple ways for that to happen. You already got a bandana, so you're not getting another one, but I'll still answer the question.
You would much rather walk in a trail than on a road.
Yeah, there is an individual that works for the Ice Age Trail Alliance whose job is land acquisition, land management, and so on. He has several staff members that report to him, but they have to monitor all the property that they own. And with the National Park Service, they go through what they call a trail corridor planning. Corridor planning. Yeah. Thank you. So they look at where the glacier was and try and decide where would the best place for the trail to go. And then this individual from the Ice Age Trail Alliance will contact the landowners and say, hey, I'm Kevin from the Ice Age Trail Alliance, and we would love to have the Ice Age Trail go through this property. Would you be willing to have an easement on your property? And that's generally how the conversation starts, is, request for an easement. And an easement is a legal right to go over the property, but the property is still owned by the landowner. And that's how they acquire much of the property. The Brown Rig Hire property just north of Wallahai County Park was one where Kevin went to the landowners and said, we would like to have an easement on your property. And he started talking about, the Ice Age Trail is and their conservation plans and, the fact that they are a land trust, again, one of 17 in the state of Wisconsin. And after talking to them probably for the third time, and the Brown Rig Hire family had a lot of questions for Kevin and stuff, they said, no, we don't want to give you an easement. We just want to donate all the land to you. And they donated like 120 acres of land. Eventually, it'll probably be 2.5 to 3 miles of trail that goes through that property. It can happen in all kinds of different ways.
They also purchase.
They do purchase, yes.
So do they have funds available?
Yes.
So if something comes up for sale, they have the funds, some sort of
They do a lot of purchases, but many of the purchases are done with if you've heard of the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Fund, through the state of Wisconsin, they get funds from there for property. They write a lot of grants and get, grants. There's all kinds of different ways. So, some of the property is purchased, some of it is just donated to the Alliance. And some of it is just easements, like there's a lot of state and county parks and city parks as well. Shooty Park is an example of a city park where there's basically an easement through those parks for the trail to go on. So it's still owned by the parks, but the trail, the Alliance has an easement for it. Okay? Yeah.
Sure, there's a lot of volunteers involved, and are there any ultra people that have been greatly involved
Um, there's many. Yeah.
Was it someone from our local chapter recognized nationally for that cold crash?
That was me. Our partner with the National Park Service became aware of the Cold Cache program, and I was the individual that created the program. I was the coordinator of the program for many years, but I've turned that coordination administration of it over to a staff member, Amy Lord with the Alliance. But I created the Cold Cache program. I created the park packs that are at 8 locations. I did all kinds of crazy, stupid things, not realizing how much involvement it was actually going to be. And the individual from the National Park Service that works with the Ice Age Trail wrote up a, what do you call it? A nomination for me. And the nomination was through I think it was through the National Parks Foundation for that as well. And they had individuals from national parks and national scenic trails all over the country that were nominated for, they called it the Beacon Award. And I was selected to receive. Yeah.
We'll take one more question if anyone has it for Dolly.
I'm sorry. How do you become a volunteer? Who do you contact? And then what about like the Ice Age Trail University you were talking about?
Mhm.
And then how do you earn the bachelor's per segment? Who do you contact for that?
2 ways. One would be to contact the Ice Age Trail Alliance, and their website is iceagetrail.org, or me. The local chapter coordinator, the Lakeshore Chapter coordinator, is Cheryl Gorsuch. And if you go to the website and look up local chapters, her name and contact information will be listed on the Ice Age Trail website. If you become a member of the Ice Age Trail Alliance, you get a 3 times a year, basically a newsletter. It's like probably 12 to 16 pages of newsletter that talks about what the Ice Age Trail Alliance is doing in the last couple of months, and that will also have listed in it all the local chapter coordinators. Mm-hmm. I will stick around for a little while as long as you let me.